Welcome to the Honest Designers Show, your transparent look into life as a modern designer. My name's Tom Ross, and I'm the founder at DesignCuts.com. And this week I'm joined by my fellow Brit and hand lettering expert, Ian Barnard, American retro design expert, Dustin Lee, and the incredibly talented South African illustrator, Lisa Glanz. This week we are trying a bit of a different format, and we're going to do some Q&A, not with you, dear listeners, but with each other. So each one of us has a co-host, and they get to ask one question. Let's hope they make it a good one. And without further ado, let's get into the show.
You forgot to tell the listeners that we struggled to work out how who's asking what.
This whole thing involved very simple arithmetic, and we got completely lost for like 20 minutes.
So it went something like this. Okay, so Tom's going to ask Lisa a question, and then Lisa's going to ask Dustin a question, and then Dustin can ask Tom a question. Wait.
And Ian?
Ian's
going to ask Ian
I got left out. I did shed a tear.
That shows the level of our sleepiness today and our logic.
Well, what's confusing about it is if you were in a circle, you'd all be able to ask a question. So if I was like, I'm going to look to my right and I'm going to ask someone a question, it would eventually everyone would ask a question. So what happened? I actually still don't understand why. If we were in a circle and we all had to look to the right and ask someone a question to the right of us, we would eventually all ask someone a question. So what happened?
We weren't in a circle. Simple as that.
Is that what it is?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Math
I obviously wasn't in the circle.
complicated.
That's the problem.
I just wrote our names in a circle because this is how dumb I'm feeling today. It's like, oh, wait. And we're the ones dispensing advice on the show every week. Like, for real.
I still can't get over that.
I see the circle, Tom, because I don't understand still.
Yeah, you can. Hold on.
This
let me
is
hold it
hilarious. Oh,
I
goodness.
don't want to give away Lisa's question. But there it is.
You see?
Okay.
There it works.
But you were going to ask me, you were going to break the circle. Anyway, this makes no sense for anyone listening to the show. I'll tell you what, Dustin, sit down maybe with your, infant daughters and go through this as a fun exercise afterwards.
I probably could ask my 6-year-old and she'd be like, oh, it's because of this.
Yeah.
And I'd be
Yeah,
like,
like, oh.
Yeah.
I've been really struggling with my daughter's maths homework. And because I'm fairly good at maths. There was only two things at school I was good at, and that was maths and art. But it's the problem-solving ones where it's like, Tommy has a bag of sweets. He eats a third of them.
I hated those.
Like 100 of the ones left are green. How much are how many red ones are left? And I'm like, I don't know. Why can't I just look at the
Why is he out
packet?
eating sweets when he should be inside?
Exactly. Yeah, brain hurts.
Yeah. Sort your life out, Tommy.
So,
Okay, or Timmy.
math sucks, am I right? Anyways.
Yeah, who needs math? All right, so I'm going to kick us off. My question
Please do, Tom, please.
is for you, Lisa.
Okay. I'm present.
Looking very stylish and an all-black ensemble, head to toe. But my question is, I feel like it's a bit of a crap one out of everything I could possibly ask you. But
Okay.
my question is, you shared elements of your journey in your career on this show and how that's looked like. But what has it felt like? Because it's really, like, even though I've been there for a lot of the last 7 years of it or whatever, knowing you, and I've seen you evolve and get more successful and develop your style, it still looks very kind of easy and organic from the outside. I can just speed up the last 7 years of what I've seen of your career. I could speed that up to like a 30-second loop in my head and be like, oh, cool, yeah. It just played out like that. Like it was always meant to, like it was fate. Like you just kind of went through the motions. I'm guessing it didn't feel like that though. So what has it felt like?
That's quite a complicated question because it's actually been a bit of a
Sorry, do you prefer bunnies or bears? Is that easy?
Oh, that would actually be worse. Yeah, I'm sure you guys can all agree this whole ride is kind of up and down roller coaster. It takes you everywhere, you know, like from being super excited about what you do every day for a living to totally like down a rabbit hole of self-doubt. And
did you feel like it was all laid out before you, or did you feel like you were just running into the darkness and you didn't know what?
Running into the darkness, definitely, like full speed. Yeah, I guess it's my personality. I don't do things half measure. I never have. So when I decided to take it on, I just went in like guns blazing, and I had no clue. And I mean, obviously in the beginning, it was super scary to the point where I really did want to pull out a lot of the time. And the scary part was more a case of like, there's no blueprint. Like, you don't get a roadmap. You don't get given like, okay, well, if you do this, then that's going to happen. So a lot of it was kind of figuring it out as I went along, mixed with, you know, your insecurities about your ability. And I mean, let's face it, at the beginning, you aren't great, you know, so those are real. Yeah. And then this whole thing of like, you get used to that feeling of kind of free falling, because it is generally free falling a lot of the time. And eventually you like it, and eventually, you know, if you are free falling, it means you're moving forward, and if you're not, then it's time to take that leap again, you know.
And what would you say? Yeah, what would you say in a nutshell? I don't know, the 3 biggest standout emotions have been from the last decade or so of doing this?
Pure exhilaration, to complete and utter fear. And the third is a sense of accomplishment.
Oh, that's nice.
Mm.
Pride.
Do you ever feel...
Sorry, this is my question, Dustin.
Oh,
day.
Sorry, I just know we have like
No,
45 minutes to fill, and I was like, man, okay, we're 2.5 minutes in, and we got one down. So I figured I was helping out, but no, I'll keep my mouth shut. I didn't mean to overstep my bounds.
No, make sure that you do.
Please ask.
I mean, we still got 42 minutes to fill.
No, go ahead, man.
Do you ever just think, I'm devoting my entire life to like drawing. Like, I've decided of all the things, like, because I do that. I've devoted my entire life of all the things that like people could pursue in life to drawing stuff. Yeah, I know we could be like, oh, like I help people, I'm helping people, like I'm making people happy.
I've never.
We all know, like, really, you're sitting down and drawing every day, and I mean that for all of us. Like, do you ever have like a moment of, what do you call it, existential crisis, where you're like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my, like, is this the right choice? Should I have like joined the nunnery? Should I have done this?
I actually have the opposite. I have that like, oh my word, like this is what I do. I've dedicated my life to doing this. It's like the most exciting, kind of exhilarating feeling for me. Like I couldn't be happier when I think about it. To me, it like fills me with like so much joy, and as I said, like accomplishment and contentment, because I guess it's because I've been striving to get to this feeling for so long through my whole life, and only now in my 40s I'm finally getting there, and it's like, oh, so this is what I've been fighting for? Like, this is what I've been
really
searching for?
Interesting. Did you feel like it was constantly, I'll be happy when I reach that point?
Yes.
And then you kind of get there, it's like, I'll be happy when I reach that point.
Yes.
Did it keep moving? And has it now stopped moving and you feel like you're there?
Yes.
Because now you're enjoying the journey. Because I had that for years and you never get there.
Yeah, so the whole time I had this weird, like, this is going to sound, it is really genuine. I had this weird feeling the whole time that I was meant to be doing something else, like continuously. And this wasn't it. I had like such an overwhelming feeling of that through my entire career. And it kind of like gave me like ants in my pants, like I was never really settled. And I guess that goes hand in hand with the anxiety that I used to have, and all that like kind of self-doubt and what's going to happen, this can't be it. I kept having the massive feelings of like, is this really it? Is this life? Because it sucks. And it's only since I've been doing what I'm doing and kind of forging my own path, down this road of like total, as I said, like free falling, but it's exciting and it's fulfilling and it's all those things, do I finally feel like, so this is it, this is what I've been wanting. I finally feel settled, even though it's the most unsettling time. I mean, that doesn't make sense at all, but it really
found your
is.
purpose.
Yeah, it is. It feels like I have more purpose now. So yeah.
Good for you. Well, after that superb first answer to kick us off, it's you asking a question of our dear friend, Mr. I. Bernard.
Right. Okay, so Ian, I know this is going to be a rough one for you. I think.
Oh, I'm so curious.
Okay, so I know that you really struggle to focus because you're a bit like me that way. So how do you actually manage to get a job done or a project done or a product done? What are your own personal hacks to kind of like hack yourself, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
To get through, the focus.
Yeah, I know
problem.
what you mean. So number one is deadlines. No, I don't like when it's client work, I don't have a problem. I can just do it because there's always a deadline. But I still may leave it to the last minute or wait for that dreaded email where they go, just checking up on how you're getting on. And you're
Those
like,
are the worst.
oops.
Yeah, it's going great.
It's going great. Nearly finished. Like, just starting it. I think I get to a point where I just need to, I've got a couple of products that the problem I have is that I get to a certain place, make a product where it's like 70% are done. And that 30% is really tricky to get done because you're just like, I'm just not finished. And then you start, the problem is the longer I spend on something, normally it's the least successful it is. So
and the more you lose your interest.
My two of my best selling fonts are ones that took me like 3 whole days to complete. Whereas ones that took me forever, and other products that had taken me like a long time, and I thought, spent forever on it. People are going to love this. They're going to love it. And they're like, it's gone nowhere. So no products. And I'm like, oh. And sometimes I just dwell on things too much. And I realize that that's something I have to, I think speed is something I need to embrace more, of building it, getting it out there. And then if I need to iterate it, I can. Not like say, because they say about, getting a product to market as quickly as possible and then iterating. Not like it's going to be a bad product, but it's just, you don't know how other people are going to receive it, whether it's a piece of work, whether it's a product, whether it's a video. I'm finding at the moment that something like, if I do like 5 tips in Procreate, which is one of the videos that takes me the least amount of time, it does miles better than something I've spent ages on and I've done some worksheets for and stuff like this. So yeah, so that's another thing.
So how do you get past that? What are the things that you do to actually help you?
I think sometimes it's just like it's being okay with yourself to give yourself some time. Like the only reason I got my Skillshare class out was because I devoted a whole week to doing it and being okay with the fact that I wasn't going to post on Instagram. I wasn't going to do any other work. I wasn't going to do any YouTube stuff, and I think you have to and then when you get to the end of the week, you feel so fulfilled that you've actually spent that time creating something and finished it. And it's from having that feeling and trying to capture it like a smell so that you can then put that essence into another thing you're doing.
Ian.
I don't think that would be a pleasant.
It would be
it would be a best
scent.
Yeah. So yeah, hacking out a week. Like the thing is though, a lot of these things are like I've only done them a few times, and is something I'm constantly trying to figure out with myself. It's what I need to do is do stuff that my brain then doesn't catch up with me.
Yeah.
So, like,
do it fast. And
also, I've read a lot of books which haven't really given me any more information that I already know about that you just need to get started. And I've been doing. I went through quite a slump at the beginning of the corona outbreak. I was just really struggling. Not that things were too different for us as a family, apart from the kids not being at school, but just because of the news and stuff like that, and how the world was changing in front of us quite quickly and very rapidly. And yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit more motivated. I feel a little bit more like I can do stuff, and I'm seeing the benefits of because, like, for instance, exercise. It's only like I do like a 20-minute HIIT workout, but it's just 20 minutes. I can spend 20 minutes just looking through YouTube videos or stuff like that. So what I'm doing is, like, before my brain has a chance to think, well, you could do something else, or let's just check your emails one more time, I go and do it. And I think there's a speaker called Robbins, not Tony Robbins, but she's a lady Robbins, and I can't remember her first name. Describes this thing where you do like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and do it. So, like, if you're trying to get out of bed in the morning, you go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and just do.
And your wife goes, "Shut up! I'm trying to sleep."
Yeah, yeah. I've just woken the kids, and just doing it. Like, so, like, the first thing you do is just getting out of bed. Just that first step, just do it. As soon as you've done that, then everything else just sort of follows very quickly.
It's like momentum, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a momentum, and your brain hasn't got, in those 5 seconds, your brain hasn't got enough time to think up an excuse or a distraction and just doing it. So I'm just like, I went out for a run before this episode. Actually, that was my wife that was more of the 5, 4, 3, 1, just go out the door and just boot me out. If you're going to go for a run, go for a run. You know, sometimes you need that motivation from someone else. So, yeah, that's been a really good thing. Not that I use it all the time, but just when I know that's, and I think someone else said about.
Do you change your clothes?
Sorry?
Do you change your clothes when you do that?
Do what?
Like, if you say, I'm going to go for a run, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, yeah,
just
good
start
point.
running in your jeans? I'm not joking.
No.
I'm serious.
You should see when he goes swimming.
But it's funny.
It's a mess.
Yeah. I just in whatever I was wearing to bed, and I was running around, so then I got arrested. So in that instance, I was already changed, because, like, I was going to go out for a walk because the family were going out for a walk. We were recording an episode, and so I was dressed, and then I was still faffing around. So my wife was the one who actually instigated me actually going out. And then there's also another thing that I heard about. If it's going to take you less than 2 minutes to do, then do it now. And so I think about something where it's a small job around the house, and I think, is it going to take me less than 2 minutes? Yes. Well, I'll go.
Yeah, it practically takes you longer to add it to your to-do list and remember to
Yeah.
do it later.
And then what happened? I can't believe how much. Like, I go on my phone to do one thing, I don't do that one thing, and then I end up watching a half an hour video all about
making
something
a salad.
random. Yeah, something I'm not even interested in, or got
inside the lives of builders. Something like that, probably.
Well, that's be something I'll be interested in.
Lisa, I see why you've asked this question, though, and it was a little while back, but I actually chatted to your business partner and good friend Stefan, and he and I were kind of saying, you know, often you will be quite charmingly self-deprecating in your lack of focus, and you'll talk about it a lot. But he and I were both agreeing at the same time, you can really just crank and, like, you know, churn workout when you need to. Like, you've been prolific on your Instagram. When you get a product done and over the line, you seem like laser focused and get a huge amount done, more than most people are capable of. So you seem to kind of bounce between the two extremes of extreme focus and productivity, and then extreme lack of focus and distraction, more than the average person, I would say.
I think so. If someone said, like, And I think sometimes I'm like, if someone said go out and run a marathon and try to run a marathon, I'd probably go and give it a go.
Yeah. You know what I think it is? It's like society kind of like pushes you into following like the mainstream of how to get something done. And it doesn't fit everyone. It doesn't fit me. It doesn't fit you.
It doesn't fit me either. Like,
yes.
yeah.
You got to find your own hacks. So you like the whole thing of like, as you said, Tom, you got to do like sprints and then like
yeah. You know. Like I just had 14 weeks. I had 4 weeks of doing like 14-hour days, working day and evening and weekends because I was channeling my anxiety of the pandemic into being unbelievably prolific. But then last week I took it really easy. And I worked more like 7 or 8 hour days. And they were some of the slowest days that I've worked in ages because I felt like I was going to burn out and I was like, I need to rest now. And I think especially when you're self-employed and you're an entrepreneur, you can do that because you recognize your goal is maximum total output. So it doesn't matter how you divvy that up. You don't have to constrain that to a 9 to 5 or whatever it might be. It's the same thing. Like a couple of nights ago, I worked from 8 p.m. until like half midnight when I'd done my working day, but I was like, you know what, I'm in a flow state and I can do that. And who cares if I take a slower breakfast the next day? So
but it's difficult not to feel
yes,
but it's difficult to not feel guilty when you're not doing the full on days, you know, like the full 8 to 9
but
hours.
is that just society's like arbitrary framework that's the guilt trip? Like you could do whatever the hell you want, Lisa. You could work 1 hour a day and feel zero guilt.
I don't know what it is. I think it's for me personally, because that's why I was so interested to hear Ian's take on it, because I know he's similar to me. And I don't know if it's like my parents' work ethic. I don't know. But it's just for me, like, I don't know. I guess maybe there's guilt. There's guilt involved. Like, you got to be working like everybody else every day.
I don't think any of us could be, told we were work shy, though.
No.
And certainly not you, Lisa.
No.
So I wouldn't
Which
worry
is
about
cuckoo
that.
in itself, you know, having that guilt. But anyway, yeah.
I think there's one more thing, which I also just recently read, is about allocating in different places to where you work. Or like even if it's in your office, like, I'm going to stand to do some writing. Like for me,
I like that idea.
It's like, which I'm struggling with at the moment, is now I normally go to the coffee shop to do my writing because I like that noisiness and lack of distractions from tools around me. Because so that means this is my writing zone. So I'm there and I'm like, but I'm spending money on coffee when I've got a coffee machine in the house. But that, £2.50 for that like hour and a half, I'm going to have like the script for my YouTube video written because I have to, like, I've tried to fake it on my computer with some coffee sounds. There's like apps that do coffee sounds, but it's actually the location is actually the point because I'm still got all these distractions around me, even though the noise is there. It's actually the noise and the fact that I'm there with just my like laptop just to type stuff up. That. So even if it's like, if you're limited on, just got like an office, then maybe, like you said, stand or maybe, move some stuff around. So it's like, okay, I'm in writing mode, I'm in designing mode, I'm in painting mode or whatever that is. That sometimes helps. Doesn't always, but it sometimes helps to engage your brain and going, okay, this is the time I spend on this.
Yeah. I've kind of like a small version of that, but I'm going to take it further now that you've mentioned. I always go and get coffee, sit down. When I have a coffee on my desk, I know I have to draw kind of thing. So my brain's like, yeah, cool.
And last thing is just doing stuff for fun. So like, even though I videoed this, the skateboard I did with this letter on it,
that's so cool.
The reason why I did it is not, obviously part of the thing is to make a video from it, but just painting was just so nice. I hadn't done it for so long, and I used some materials I don't know if you do it. I bought a load of stuff and never used it, like paints. I like maybe used them once, because they just need experimenting with different things to do it. And I had a really good time. it took me quite a long time to do, and I kept making mistakes and just going over it. But I was just like, oh, this is just really enjoyable.
So easy to forget to have fun.
I know, and just not have to worry. Like I wasn't,
Ian,
and I wasn't
you're not going to
really
make
worried
scalable income from that. How dare you enjoy yourself?
I know, that's the thing, is I find it hard not to think, how is this going to work in my business in terms of where's it going to go on social media? Rather than just think, I'm going to just paint this for fun or draw this for fun or sketch this for fun, and just not have to worry about where the end result is going to end up.
I think what you need to do is start a spreadsheet, start a thing where you calculate the number of Instagram likes per minute of work you put into it. That would be really healthy for your mindset.
So healthy.
Yeah.
You need like an app, which is a calculator that you just like, okay, I've put in this much work and it's going to equal 2 likes.
No, that's some very good tips packed into that answer. Thank you, Ian. All right, next up we have
me. Should we go around this? We're in this circle, so
yeah, I'm so confused.
I should ask Dustin a question now, shouldn't I?
You can do. I am not seeing a circle with how my Zoom is displaying.
You asked Lisa. You asked Lisa.
You jump ahead,
asking me. Then I should ask a question to Dustin.
I guess if you want to grab the ball by the horns, then
goodness,
jump right in.
Otherwise, we're going to end up with one person left out again.
That just made sense. You're so smart, man.
So the person who's just been asked asks the question would help.
Fine, I guess it makes sense.
Sorry, I sound like I'm a teacher.
Yeah, listeners, I'm so sorry about him. He gets like this sometimes. It's, the bully of the group.
Class, come on, keep down the commotion.
Sorry, Mr. Barnard. Focus. You're right. It's a sensible point.
Yeah. My dad is an ex-headmaster, so maybe I should
channel that. Okay, what are you asking Dustin?
Okay, Dustin, the king of marketing. If you had to pick one marketing strategy, which one would you pick? If you could only have one marketing strategy, what would it be? What would you choose? If I know you have multiple marketing things that you do. Well, if you had one, the only one you could use.
What's that thing called? That like inflatable man outside of like car lots? One of those.
Right, like a tube man.
Tube man.
I would have 100% said email marketing.
I was going to guess that, but
I thought you would.
I now are like, what is he going to say?
But I was interested to hear what you'd say.
Yeah, but now, like, I've noticed a lot of sales come from word of mouth and search engines. In fact, quite a bit more than email. So I would probably still say email because I feel like you can control it more, whereas search engines and word of mouth are a little more nebulous. You kind of feel like you're trying to harness the wind. Maybe you do things and maybe you control the wind a bit. Maybe you make things happen, but you don't know. So I would probably still say email.
Nice. Okay. You can elaborate.
What tips would you give with email marketing that you think, I wish I knew that at the beginning? Because I've only been into email marketing properly over the past year, which is quite, it's not much time. But I've already seen the benefits that it can bring. But I'm always needing advice with email
have you got any top 5 tips or top stuff that you would definitely say you got to do that's a no-brainer when it comes to email marketing?
Yeah, there's like a bunch of random stuff I've only come to notice over the past maybe 6 months, maybe. Okay, well, first of all, the first one I really started to notice the power of was segmenting. Everyone talks about segmenting and then people don't segment. And segmenting is any way you break people down. So one common way to do it is, for instance, people buy stuff from me for Procreate, for Illustrator, for Affinity, for Photoshop. So when when I first started, I might have sent an email out to an entire list and it would be, look at this new Photoshop thing. But now I've actually done it where I'll be like, okay, send this to people that have expressed interest in Photoshop, send this to people that have expressed interest in Illustrator, and I'll address a product for each person. Or I'll just change the message based on it. So for instance, if you have a Photoshop, let's say hypothetically you have a Photoshop texture pack. If you're sending it to people that use Photoshop, you're going to communicate the value of that product different than you're going to communicate the value of a Photoshop product to someone in Procreate. Someone with Procreate is more likely going to export the Procreate illustration out, put it into Photoshop to maybe add texture or do something. Someone that works in Photoshop, it might be more of a cohesive workflow to it. So when you talk to them that way, the more you can make it feel like you're talking to an individual person, the more likely it is that they will buy. Something else I've noticed is that you have to...
Sorry, Justin, just 2 seconds. So on that, I think email marketing in general is quite overwhelming to a lot of the listeners. And especially when you get into the more advanced stuff like segmentation, it can quickly spiral to overwhelm, because then it's like, well, what about the people that have shown interest in all different types of things? It's not as clear cut as everyone's perfectly segmented into just one thing. They might have multiple interests.
Hmm.
And can you do this? Like, I don't know much about segmentation, and like, so where do you get that information from? Because like, obviously you have one is your platform. So for me and you, it's Shopify. Mm-hmm. And then you have your email client. Does the email client know what people have bought, or is it the shop?
It's both. They talk to each other. So they all talk to each other when, and if you're getting started, don't worry about trying to get it all to talk to each other. Just work with what you have. In fact, probably less is more in the beginning, for like the simple reason that, what'd you call it? Arguing from first principles. So, when you're first starting, you want to start with what you know for sure. So instead of making guesses, you can know for sure. For instance, one of the best ways for me to know is when people sign up when they're a new person and they come to our site, it'll say, do you want 20% off? Tell us what your favorite kind of software is. And you can click one or multiple ones, and then you get the code. Okay, so we got that. Like, that could be all your segmentation you do right there to start with. But like, we also watch, what did they buy? What did they browse? What did they add to cart? What did they go through checkout with but not finish? I was going to say this at the end, but something else that happens too is there's a lot of surprises. There's something called cohort analysis. So a cohort is a group of people in a certain, it's essentially a group. It's a fancy word for group. So like cohort analysis, a lot of times in email marketing can be by month. So you can look at a group of people and say, for instance, the other day I was looking and I was like, okay, let's look at our customers. So customers, I found they all act different, but I found customers will buy oftentimes within 3 hours. They'll make their first 2 purchases. So in a 3-hour window, they'll make 2 purchases. And then the next most common time is 7 days later, then 14 days, then 21 days, like weekly. It's like they're on a weird pattern. Once they hit 31 to 60 days, the drop-off rate is something like 70%. So if we don't re-engage someone in the 31 day to 60 day period, they're gone. So cohort analysis sounds super dorky, and it, to be honest, is dorky. Like as I was doing it, I was like, this looks dorky if someone was to take a picture of me. But when you look at it, you can start to see these patterns happening, and you can actually there's all sorts of software for this where you can look and say, for instance, I have this piece of software that says, I can say the last purchase they made, let's say they made a big purchase. They purchased this bundle. Last purchase they made was this big bundle. What is the most common purchase that happens before that big bundle? Oh. So then once you know what that is, then you lean into the pattern that's making them buy that bundle. So if, 65% of people that buy that really high ticket item first bought this, find out what that item is and push that item on them before the bigger one. Yeah. Because then you'll find some things, you'll be like 0 times when they buy this, do they ever upgrade to the next thing? You'll also notice weird patterns like, anyways, it's worth spending the time. I'll literally spend hours sometimes looking at someone that bought a certain product, and I'll just go the entire thing and look at the transactions, look at what they buy first, how many days or how many hours happen. Sometimes I'll even write them and be like, hey, 2 or 3 hours later, you went and made another purchase. Why did you do that? And I'll just get an answer back.
Just to interject for a second, I think probably a lot of people's heads are exploding right now.
It's really interesting, but it is
interesting.
But you nod along and go, okay, I'm not going to be able to implement that because it's scary, right? And the point I was going to make is, I do think if you're willing and interested to learn this stuff, there's enormous benefit, as Dustin's demonstrated, but it won't be for everyone. And don't be afraid. I feel like people very commonly understand the benefit of hiring someone to like develop and code their website, for example.
Yes.
But they don't often deploy money towards this kinds of stuff. And there are a lot of, very good experts out there with email marketing and all kinds of stuff. And I know Dustin worked with someone on site optimization, and you get all these specialist areas. I'm going to be imminently paying someone to do my website because I don't have time to do it. But for some reason, I would have a weird higher level of resistance to go and pay someone to consult on my marketing. And I think if you're willing to put money behind it, don't just say, well, that scares me, or it's boring to me, I don't like the numbers, so I'm not going to do it. Realize that you will hopefully see a return if you actually put a bit of investment in. If it's not time, then it's money.
And I would say this too, like when you hear about, cohort analysis, or I can just picture people thinking, what software are you using, or how do you even do that? For most people, just do this and you'll gain so much insight. Decide to dedicate as many hours as you can, say 4 hours one day of the week, just one time do this. Maybe do it once a quarter. Go, and I'm thinking of e-commerce, but you can apply this any way you want to something. Spend 4 hours looking through your customers' transactions. Look at, where did they come from? What did they buy? What did they buy later? How long was it between the time they bought? If you don't have that information or you're not sure how to get it, write them and ask them. Why did you buy this? Or what did you buy after this? Or what were you thinking about buying after this? If you do that for, say, even 4 hours every quarter, you don't have to have fancy software to figure it out. Your brain will kind of just be like, oh, wait, I see some emerging patterns happening here. And that your brain will do it for you just by looking. I mean, it's really just paying attention to what is the behavior. But I'll tell you one last thing and then I'll end it. The last thing is, for any of this stuff, you can use a scientific method. I just started doing this. It's so amazing. I saw my daughter using the scientific method, and we had to teach her it. And I was like, I should be using this. So basically, you just make an observation, right? I noticed lots of people are buying my branding consultation services that are in the fitness industry. So then you make that observation. Then you say, I'm going to make a hypothesis or a question. How can I get more people in the fitness industry? That might be the question. Then you would say, you would make a guess. I think I can get more people in the fitness industry if I contribute 30 posts in Facebook groups that are useful a week in the fitness industry. And then you measure your results. Did I get more leads? And then that's where you analyze your results and you say, did I find out that my hypothesis was right or wrong? And then based on that, you just learn something. And every time you do that, you get better at making guesses. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's some of the most useful advice given on this show is how we run our business. It's how a lot of, good businesses run, but it's so simple, but it's so overlooked by the majority of people. Most people float around, and thing is, no one knows. It's all guesswork. And then, as Dustin says, pay attention to the results. If it works, great, double down on it. If it doesn't work, do a new experiment. It's as simple as that.
That can be applied to so many. Doesn't just mean like an online shop. It can be like your freelance graphic design business, just sort of, posting helpful. So like Tom did with the, critiquing their website and then implementing some changes. They,
I'm doing a 30-day LinkedIn experiment right now. I'm posting every day on LinkedIn for 30 days. And at the end, I get to go, cool, what were the results of my guess?
And is this worth my time? That's ultimately is the time, and I suppose with LinkedIn, it's leads giving, if it's like you're spending all this time and only getting a couple, then no. But if it's even out or going above, then it.
Well, and the part that people, I think, miss out on, so be careful not to do this, is make sure to make an educated, underlined word is educated guess. So think to yourself, what to me seems like the logical thing that I think would move the needle on this. And then do that and see if that makes the difference. The reason it's so important to make an educated guess is because then you're strengthening your muscles of reasoning. So you're like, you know what I mean? So you don't just want to say, I wonder if I just do this random thing, if it will make things better. That's so silly. No, like think to yourself, what's the logical thing that I think might make things better?
And have a clearly defined outcome that you want to achieve. So don't just be like, oh, I feel like, to use my example, posting on LinkedIn every day. Because at the end of that, is it a success if I got a bunch of likes and engagement? Is it a success if I got more business? Like, what's my metric of success I'm looking to achieve? And more often than not, the data will tell you whether you achieve that or not. Occasionally, you might get a surprise metric of success you didn't even foresee, where it's like, oh, well, the main thing didn't play out, but this secondary win came, and that was kind of cool. But you should at least have in your head, like, what am I hoping to get out of this, rather than just, I'm going to try this thing.
So can I ask practically what is your success for like LinkedIn after the 30 days?
Yeah, that is a very good question. The main metrics that I'm trying there is actually building audience and community. So I'm not doing it to try and, because I'm not really selling anything via my personal brand. I'm not.
Yeah. Here comes the plug. But if you catch me on the
if you reach out on LinkedIn just for $9.99. No, I actually gave up that podcast. Did I tell you?
Oh, that's the one you gave up.
Yeah.
So which one are you doing then?
BizBuds. Mike Janda. Yeah.
BizBuds.com.
No, just search BizBuds in the podcast app. It's a different dynamic, He's very charming, but obviously you guys are very near and dear to my heart. But I love the dynamic we have there. Anyway, LinkedIn,
traitor. I'm kidding.
The metric was more about building community and seeing if I could, build audience and get more followers and see any kind of growth. And
nice.
And so I track it every day. I'm like, how many new followers did I have? How many more people are viewing my profile, and how is the engagement looking on that platform?
And is it growing? Can you give it?
Yeah. Like, I'm halfway through, and it was like a ghost town before. Nothing was going on. I had one post that went viral on there. There's been, I think literally it's been about 100,000 people have seen my content in 2 weeks now. Something like that. It's pretty cool.
And have you had to, and is the content stuff you've already made, or is it all fresh?
It was all stuff I made.
And how have you had to, sorry about this, we're diverting from Dustin. Yeah. How have you altered it to suit the LinkedIn audience?
I haven't. I just got content that had already been validated. So I went on my Instagram Insights, found my top 30 performing posts that I felt were LinkedIn friendly, and then just repurposed that because I knew it would stand a better chance of performing.
And what's LinkedIn friendly? Sorry, I'm just thinking about, because
more
it's
like
a great platform,
business orientated, maybe less fluffy. Not that I post much fluffy stuff. Most of it was a good fit. There were just a couple where I'm like, that might sit a bit strangely on that platform.
You mean the one where you're in your G-string?
Yep, yeah, there was that one. That
ass. Bring up the sex, don't you, Lisa?
I know. Honestly, for everyone listening, not a week goes by that I do not feel objectified. I feel like a piece of meat. Okay. But I'm a consummate professional, and I keep going with this show despite how Lisa treats
your face.
me.
Oh.
I'm sorry you have to feel like a piece of meat.
No,
I'm
me
sorry.
too.
On Lisa's behalf, I'm sorry that she makes you feel that way.
Yeah, thank you.
Really
when are we going to get a break? That's what I'm wondering. No, that was a very insightful answer, Dustin, and I loved it about the scientific method. I think it's like if cohort analysis is freaking your brain out right now. Well, don't worry about it for now. Just try some hypotheses and guesswork and measure the results.
Whenever I listen to you guys, I always think to myself, how the hell am I in business? Because
I think
any of this shit.
I'm like, I don't do any of that. You know, I just send an email going out saying, there's this in the shop.
Well, to be fair, like I don't mean this in an insulting way, like literally the opposite, Dustin. But we obviously are like a bigger scale team-wise and so on than your business.
But even if I scaled, I wouldn't be keen.
Well, whenever I listen to him, I'm like, how's he doing a better job than we are? And we got like 20 people behind the scenes. It's very impressive.
Yeah, no, look, it's insane.
I appreciate that.
Okay. Insane.
So I have a question for you, Tom.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I'm going to word this the best I can. I've kind of thought intermittently about how to word this. So feel free to improvise like a jazz musician off of this question, how you see fit. Okay. So my assumption, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that this is a marketing question, kind of. Okay. My assumption is that when you build a business, you would probably say that a lot of your success, or the biggest thing you do that results in success, is relationships. You're a master of relationship marketing. So when I think, how was Design Cuts built? How is this business being built right now? I think, well, he was excellent at finding partners with large audiences, talking to them about what they wanted, giving them what they wanted so they would do what he needed them to do to build the business. So basically you were finding, right, you were delivering value to them, and as a result, they were providing the value to you to help grow your business. Bottom line is, I feel like you're a relationship marketer. You use relationships.
I like to think so.
Okay, cool.
Like naturally, not.
Yeah.
I've become more aware of it, but I think I did it unconsciously for a lot of years, especially in the early years.
Yeah, and like you do it in the best way possible. Like, you're not manipulating people or pretending to like them, but you almost, like, as a muscle reflex, will be like, we should get on a call and help you with that. Every single time you meet someone, we should get on a call and help you with that. Let me help you with this. Let me help you with that. I'm like, well, yeah, no wonder he's doing good, because every time anyone ever like comes within 6 feet of this guy, he's like, let me help you out with something. And you end up with, slowly over time, you end up with an army of people that are like, guys, hook me up. Oh, that guy, I'm going to help him out when I can. I mean, I know that's how I felt. Like, that's how we initially got to know each other. So my question is I think that even if you couldn't do that, you would still succeed. I think your chosen weapon of choice is relationships, for lack of a better word. But I think if you could not build a business on relationships, I think a business would still succeed that you were behind. So my question is, assuming that you cannot rely on your strongest strength, which is relationship building, what would you do to build your business in terms of marketing, getting customers? Does that make sense?
Yeah. So would I do the same thing with regards to connecting with our customers and business development and partnerships? That could all still happen, but just with less emphasis on the relationship building. Or like
no, you couldn't reach out to people and be like, hey, let me see how I can help you. Also, you happen to have 100,000 people on an email list. Yeah. And like, you can't go talk to those people and present something to them. You have to either use SEO, lead magnets, links on different sites, something where a person isn't.
Can I do it with customers and potential customers, or no one?
Yeah, you just can't use like high leverage like influencers, I guess.
Fine.
I would say.
So it's interesting you asked that, because I appreciate for many listeners that might be intimidating, like the business development side. And it's taken me years to get more comfortable and confident in it, and I love it. But I didn't really do it at any kind of scale when we started out. I really didn't. My entire ethos was, I understood that it's not how many people you have and how many customers you have and how many community members you have. It's how engaged and how active they are and how much they care. It was that single concept that drove all of my actions in those early days. And so actually, I wasn't out there doing partnerships or anything like that, really. I was entirely focused on our customers, and it worked very well, and it created a very engaged, amazing community, and that spread through word of mouth. But in many ways it hurt us because I was so focused on them. I actually wasn't pursuing these higher level relationships and partnerships and distribution that I'm such a believer in now. I think you need both. And we were so insular that we literally didn't go outside of our customer base. And I talked about it before on the show, when it was just me and doing the 18-hour days and all that, I made best friends with our first 200-300 customers. Literally, I'd be like emailing them every day. I knew everything about them. They knew personal stuff about me. We just had friendly chats. I wasn't selling to them. So that was relationship building, but not at a kind of, higher, more influential person level. It was just at 1-to-1-to-1 scale with tons of customers because I cared about them and they meant the world to me. And for me, community is the funnest thing in the world. That's what I love about entrepreneurship, is when you create an idea out of nothing and you rally other people around it and you get them to care. And so case in point, when I was doing the Young Entrepreneur of the Year competition in London, when I was a bit younger, I got through to the final round of that. And I looked at it, I was like, well, we've got all of these people who are part of this competition. They've got no way to communicate. So I created a Facebook group and set up a URL and forwarded that. So it was like easy for them to type in. And suddenly like 80% of the people who were going through the competition at that stage joined the Facebook group, and they were all now chatting and I was chatting with them. So I like that stuff. I like when you bring people together around something, and it doesn't have to be business. It could be a hobby. I helped my friend do this. He's an optician, or he's in that industry. And they had some social cause that they were trying to rally with their unions and that kind of thing. And so I kind of helped him a bit with that because I think it's really cool. You get a bunch of like-minded people hanging out, and that's super fun. And you don't need to rely on a high leverage partnership for that. You just need passion and one-on-one time with those people and a common thing which they can actually gravitate towards.
So can you paint a picture of that, like on a single example? Like imagine, I don't know, like someone is a customer or might become a customer. What do you, like, real example, like think of a real example of someone that you've done this with. What do you talk about?
So I'm going to give away all my trade secrets here. But literally in the early days, it would be like someone might send a support query for a product. And then I would look and see in their email URL or in their signature, I'd see a link to their website. So after I was done helping them, I'd be like, by the way, I went and checked out your website, and 3 blog posts down, I read through that whole thing and it was super useful. And I love the story you told about this, and your work's amazing, by the way. And just start paying an interest in them and building a friendship. And then they'd be like, cool. And then they ask me something. And it's just like how you have a conversation in real life. And it's like, oh yeah, I saw you travel there. Me too. And we'd start chatting. And it wouldn't be a surface level thing. Like I literally would go through their website. And can you imagine how unscalable that is? Trying to do that as one person with like 300 people.
Don't worry, Tom. I still do that a bit with my customers.
Yeah, it's great though.
I can't help it.
Yeah, it's so cool. And I think everyone's reactive, right? They wait for the people to come to them, and then they come to them and they help them with the thing that they want. But it's like, well, what about going back over into their world and giving a crap about it and paying an interest in it? And then just, and the reason I'm, it's not a ninja hack exactly, but it is very effective. The reason I'm happy to share that, and I don't think suddenly everyone's going to do it and we're going to be out of business tomorrow, is because it's an enormous amount of work. Like that is, very energy sapping. You need to be relatively extroverted to feel comfortable doing that. And you have to prioritize it above other stuff that might make you more short-term money. But if you're doing that day in and day out and day in and day out, like,
can you draw the lines? Sorry, last part of the question for this. Can you draw the lines on this for me? So I'm picturing, let's say a customer buys something from you, from a business, and then they write you a support question and you help them out with it. And then, like you said, you go look at their site and you find something intriguing to you, and you write them back and just share some real, true interest in what they have done.
Yep.
And that started a conversation. Okay, now you guys have talked. And then you release another pack. How does, in your mind, when you, through your eyes, how does that
translate to sales?
how does it? Yeah, exactly. Like surely you don't want them to buy just because you're like, well, he's my friend, therefore I buy things I don't need to give him money. So,
all right. So,
and I know there's a way you do it, but I'm curious how your mind sees it. I don't mean that as a hard question.
I don't love that you're jumping straight to sales, because that's almost the wrong mindset. You're doing it just in this altruistic way, believing in a macro sense it's going to pay off, rather than tracking every well, I sent them 3 emails, why didn't they buy again? Right? It's more that you genuinely want to get to know them.
So we're talking about a business.
Yeah, for sure. So let me ask you a question and use hypothetical numbers, right? You've bought something from me just now. What is the chance that you're going to buy again? Like, what's the percentage chance for you as an average customer?
Like, assuming I like what I bought?
Yeah. And it's useful, and the stuff I sell generally is of relevance and interest to you.
Like your course or something.
60 or 70%.
Okay.
If I'm loving it, yeah.
Well, I would say that's very high for an average customer. So, most people, yes, they get repeat business, but that seems extremely high. So do you think maybe there's a lower one that's more realistic?
Yeah, I'm saying like if I love it, if it's amazing, then it came out again, there's a good chance. But yeah, for most transactions, probably like 20%.
Cool. So 20%. So this stuff is not always that, strictly measurable, but it just makes common sense, right? So you're at 20%, you've bought from me, and we never ever speak again. And I'll release stuff in the future, and maybe you see it and maybe you don't, and maybe you buy it and maybe you don't, and maybe you go buy from one of the competitors who you've had a similar interaction with and they're happening to sell it. Now imagine I go pay an interest in you and your stuff. We have a great conversation. We kind of become friends. I follow you on social media. I stay top of mind because I'm commenting on your work and supporting you. I help you in some kind of cool way. We become even more friendly. And then you see that I release something, a month later or a week later. Like
that you need and you were buying.
That you need, right?
Yeah.
So suddenly that 20% just became 60% or 80%. And when you got the option of you versus the 3 other people who are in your space doing something similar who aren't doing all that and don't bother and they're very cold and faceless and not very human, it becomes a no-brainer. It's like, of course I'm going to buy from Dustin because he's awesome. He's a friend.
Yeah, it's also that thing of, because this is how my brain works, because I think I'm naturally like that. When somebody sends me an email and they say, oh, I'm creating this for my mom, like I want to ask them, oh, wow, that's cool. Like what for? And, so that's how you kind of start an interaction.
Yeah, it's not done in like a nefarious business way, but it's just it's a very nice side effect. It's like, I love my community. I love befriending them. I love people. And I just know in my bones, it's also good business.
Yes, because if you think about it, for me, most importantly, I want people to feel they can trust what I'm giving them. Like I give a damn. In other words, like, so they're buying from the person, right? They're buying from a human being, and it's the human being that you want them to interact with and trust and build a relationship with, rather than just some entity that's churning out stuff,
Yep.
And I think that's the key there. It's, as you said, Tom, it's difficult to measure, but it's that beautiful marriage of money and
and you can
realness.
have both and no one loses and everyone wins, because the community member, they're happier because you're treating them like a human being and they love the attention. You're happier because it's rewarding. They get something cool they needed. Your business profits. Like, everyone wins. It's really nice. And I'll give you a perfect case study of this. So I did an Instagram post about this, but one of my community members and coaching students, Vanessa, she was not feeling like she was connecting enough with her community. And she had just under 700 followers, I think, at the time. And she was doing what I just described, where it's like she was pushing stuff out all the time. She was putting out posts and being like, why is no one coming to me? Why is no one coming to my posts and liking my stuff? It's too reactive. I was just hoping they came to her. I was like, why don't you go to them? So she sent a personal one-to-one DM to all like 670 people, whatever it was, saying, thanks so much for following me. Really appreciate you supporting my work. I'd love to know if there's anything you want to see or I can help you with. And, again, I just wanted to say a big thank you. She got like 40-50% of them responding with lovely comments. She got into prolonged conversations with a bunch of them. Some of them were previous clients who were like, oh yeah, I forgot about you. Can I hire you for this new project? And I can't remember the exact results, but literally she got like multiple paid projects out of it, a ton of positive conversations, her engagement lifted. And that was just from like a day of doing this.
Yeah, it's like that foundation that's like super solid, you know, that you can kind of like build on versus this kind of holy, I don't know, thing that could go away. I don't know. That's where I see it.
To be honest, like Dustin, I can totally see why you're asking, but my overriding feedback would be we should all play to our strengths. So when you start going data scientist on me and talking about cohort analysis, I know that stuff, but it makes my brain hurt and I don't like it. And I would be miserable if I, went through email data and all this back-end stuff as much as you did. I would hate it. But you've repeatedly said to me that if you did all the community building and people-to-people stuff I did, you'd have a anxiety attack. Because doing that at scale is ridiculous.
So I've tried. I've been inspired by you.
So the answer is,
I'll be like, how can I help you?
Mm-hmm. Sorry, man.
I'll be like, how can I help you? I'll be like, how can I help you? And I'll say it to people, and then I'll get like 120 responses, and each one is a nested Russian doll of multiple responses that will go back and forth, and eventually it spreads out. And I'm like, no understand. I don't even know what's going on anymore. And then I can't respond to everything. And I'm like, I don't know how Tom does it. Like, how did he do that?
Well, so that's the takeaway, right? Like, Dustin should not drop Tom marketing onto his stuff, and I probably shouldn't drop Dustin marketing, or I should at least delegate to someone that's like Dustin, that's going to do it better than me and enjoy it more. And
you're going to delegate that.
Well, you definitely don't do it yourself. You're the guy that says you don't like responding to your email inbox because it gives you anxiety and you miss out on time with your kids, which makes perfect sense. So, and there's people that do it more than what I can because, I have my limits. My friend James at Made by James, he recently did a post that said, comment below if you want me to go to your profile and do a critique on your latest post. So he literally had to do that about 1,000 times until Instagram blocked him. And it took him days and days and days. And I can't do that stuff as much as I would love to. That would pickle my brain and my business would fail because I'd just be doing that all day.
That is impressive.
Dustin, what you could do is if you had someone who was going to do that for you, you had your Tom, you could introduce them to your audience first, saying this is going to be my person who love to hear everything about what you want and what you're after and how you're doing and stuff like that, so that they at least can put, because sometimes when you're emailing a company, it's hard to know who is actually going to be responding. So if there's a specific person you can introduce them and what they're like, and maybe there's like a video of them or something like that, then you could do it that way. Then ask the question. So there's like a pre.
And thing is, Dustin won't like it because it's not very measurable. So you're going to do this and it'll be measured in nice comments and likes, but you won't feel it, and you certainly won't feel it immediately. And even when you do feel it, it's impossible to know how much you're getting back. And then there's obviously a limit. And we've gone the other way. Like previously, I was so gung-ho on this. We had too many people on our team doing it. And suddenly when it's like, oh, okay, suddenly you got $100,000 in payroll to have nice conversations day in, day out. You actually don't get a return on that. And it's like, damn, I believe in it. But, there's a line.
Yeah.
So it's a juggling act, but the bottom line, and there's scalable ways of doing it, man. It's like you can have webinars to hundreds of people and be nice there. You can be nice in your brand and your messaging, and I just believe in the one-on-one, and I just love people, so I lean into that.
I was also thinking how you could actually, if you're struggling to stand out just with your work, you could stand out with the service you provide your community or your clients and stuff like that. So rather than you just say, oh, nothing's happening on this avenue, you could maybe in a space of everyone who's doing similar work, you can be the one that's known for reaching out to the community and supporting the community and supporting their clients and being the one that goes above and beyond, because actually that will differentiate you from the whole pack. So.
For sure. I had seen a book kind of similar to that idea, and it's kind of similar to what Tom's doing, and it's a whole book about it, and it's called Badass.
Oh, thanks,
Great
man.
name. Right? And it basically says what company wins. Does the company with the best product win? Well, not always. So what makes a company win? And this person's hypothesis, right, or their theory, was that the company that can make their customers the most badass wins. So if you teach them how to use your product or your tool or your service the best, and they look the most awesome, that company wins.
It's like Ricky Gervais said, teach a man to, what is it? Give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day. Give a man a fishing rod and he'll go fucking mental.
I love that
guy.
Oh.
Yeah, me too. I feel like that was very OG.
Action-packed.
It was quite action-packed, but that was OG Honest Designers. That's how the show started. Before we even hit record, it was us meeting every week and asking each other questions like that. So it becomes, what do you call it? Where you pull everyone's brain. There is a name for it.
Brainstorming?
Mastermind dump. Brain dump.
Wait, what did you say,
sounded
Dustin?
hideous.
Mind meld?
Yeah, something like that.
Brainstorm?
No, it's like hive mind, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
I think
Synergy, hive mind.
I think actually the side questions from the main question were actually better than the main question.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
I also like them.
I agree.
Like, so, you know, in terms of like, you know, sometimes there's a
Expanding.
bigger subject than actually these small areas
Yeah.
Yeah.
can really, you
We
know,
should do
'cause,
this
like,
again,
I
guys.
remember how just one, like,
How's
throughout
next
my,
Wednesday?
yeah, throughout
Well,
my
how about
career,
every Wednesday forever?
Yeah, Wednesday. Imagine that. Imagine if we swapped.
Imagine doing this old, like even, older than you guys, obviously, because I'm the whippersnapper.
Well, me and Lisa
Right now,
will be
put
in
your
the care
hand
home
in.
before you guys.
Yeah. It's okay.
Let's all
you
promise
and
to
I-
do this until one of us dies.
Okay.
Oh
Hold
my-
on. Has
it
anyone
could be
got
in
like
2
a
weeks'
pocket
time.
knife? We get a little blood pack going on here.
I do. Wait. You guys put your hands up.
Is that in
Oh,
the
this
hat?
isn't a robbery. This is a. Wait.
Why have you just got that? Oh Jesus! Man.
Oh, that's
Put your hands
serious.
up.
Is this like Alan in The Hangover, where he just does it out of nowhere? He's like, blood brothers.
That's a scary knife, Dustin,
I know, Jesus.
It's recommended by Tim Ferriss.
for opening boxes. So I don't know what.
Does he live in some?
My brother-in-law who passed away, he used to always carry a pocket knife because he's like, there's always a reason for it. And so when he passed away, then I was like, oh, I think I'm going to carry on the tradition. And sure enough, I'm always using it, dude. I mean, it's a lot of times Amazon boxes.
We would get arrested in the UK with a knife like that on us.
You call that a knife?
Yeah.
This is a knife.
If you had that on you,
Yeah, you'd be locked up.
yeah.
Seriously,
Are you
you'd do
joking or
jail
serious?
time.
That's just-
no, you do
That's
jail
like
time
a little
for that.
toothpick. Yeah.
In the UK, you can literally like. So I think someone got arrested because they had a broom which looked like a gun. I think they had like a
Harry
table leg
Potter.
that looked like a shotgun.
Was
So,
it the same one who thought they drove over a cheetah and it was a nightgown?
Oh yeah. I
That
saw
was
that.
quite funny.
Genius.
Yeah.
Well, on that
randomness.
random note,
Silly note.
I think that is it from us.
Ian, didn't you have something to say? I thought you were trying to say something over us interrupting you.
No, I don't think so.
No, okay. Okay.
Part of the yeah.
Also,
part of
thanks,
that-
Lisa, for saying us interrupting you when it was me. She's like, didn't you have something to say over us interrupting you, aka Dustin?
Yeah, the royal us.
Sorry. I love you. I love you, buddy.
We will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we appreciate you guys a ton. I can't believe how old this show is.
I thought you were going to say, I can't believe how old you guys look. And I was like,
What?
thanks, Tom.
No,
Thanks.
you've been
I'm just
ravaged
looking
by
a
the
bit
sands
tired.
of time. That's for sure.
My eyes definitely look like they've been ravaged by the
Oh,
sands
mate,
of
I'm
time.
knackered as well. I
I
feel you
could
on
barely
that.
keep them open.
Let's go have a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
But yeah, seriously, for anyone who is, we went old school, we went OG today. for today's episode. So if you are an original listener, if you've been with us for 3.5 years, God help you for one thing, but do reach out, especially reach out to Dustin on Instagram because he loves one-on-one conversations. He can't get enough of them. Reach out at scale. Tell your friends to reach out. Just flood his DM inbox because he just wants to chat to you all day. He's got nothing else going on, to be honest.
He's got inbox zero, which is we've all been.
No family.
Shoot me a message. I probably won't respond, and honestly, I probably won't even read it.
He's just that kind of guy. So personable.
Head of customer support.
Yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, hey Dustin, I'm a huge fan," and he'll just send you a link for a cohort analysis on Wikipedia.
For you guys listening, like I'm literally so bad at this, not because I don't care, but just because I'm literally like I'm not good at it. So much so that Tom just doesn't invite me to stuff anymore. And I don't blame him in the least. Like, I know that sounds like I'm slighting Tom, but I'm not. Like, he just knows.
Oh, no, I know you're not.
You don't invite Dustin to things because he'll just waste your time not answering.
Yeah, think of it like going to go on a date with someone and they stand you up 38 times in a row.
Yeah.
And you're there crying into your cold dinner. You would stop asking at a certain point. But you'd still love them. You still hang out with them at football practice.
Yeah.
Which is what this is, so...
The thing is, if we actually meet up in the real world, will Dustin arrive?
Well, I did meet him at Creative South, and I was going to give him a telling off, but then I didn't realize how big he was, so I was nice to him in the end. He's quite a big man.
Well, then we did meet up, but then like I kept trying to take naps, and you'd be like blowing up my text messages, like telling me like let's come hang out because you're a party animal. I'd be like, dude, you're a party animal.
I was having a great time.
I'm sleeping.
Yeah, I was day drinking margaritas all day, and Dustin's like, "Oh, I've been napping for 4 hours." I'm like, "You're at a conference, man. Like, have some fun. It's not nap time."
I can control the air conditioning. There's no kids. It's perfect for napping.
I should have crawled in with you, buddy. Big spoon, little spoon.
Oh. I don't even want to picture that.
On that note, I'm going to try and end this episode for the 5th time. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
Cheerio.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode. As always, you can find full show notes over at honestdesigners.com or find us over on iTunes and now Spotify by searching for The Honest Designers Show. And remember, we're now on social media too, if you search for Honest Designers. If today's episode helped you, then it would mean the world to us if you took just a moment to leave us a quick review over on iTunes, as this is one of the best ways for other designers to discover the show. Thanks again for tuning in, and we will see you next week right here on The Honest Designers Show.